I was waiting at the train station outside of Santa Fe. Amtrak trains are always late all the time. So we're just hanging out a couple hours, and this guy's kind of just hanging out here. He's just kind of hanging out, watching. You could tell he was like really excited for the train to come by. So I started talking to him. He's like, yeah, this is going to be my first train trips around the country, first time like using Amtrak. I could talk to him about it, and he gets kind of choked up, and he tells me a story that it was him and his wife had this like big plan, and she ended up getting sick, and they never could go, and then she eventually passed away. And then he's like, I actually have my wife's urn with me, and I'm going to travel the country with her urn. So it's like, we're going to do this trip together. It might not be the way that we wanted to do it, but we're going to do it together. You know what would be cool is like, let's get a portrait of you holding your wife at the train station, and kind of this like moment, this like kind of new chapter in his life. So we walk out into the train, kind of like, you know, some of these old train stations, you can kind of walk out in the tracks. There's like a whole like kind of concrete like path that you can walk out there. So I'm holding him. So actually below the photo, he's holding her urn, but he starts crying. And so he gets like really emotional. So he's like laughing and crying at the same time. And it was just kind of this like really, I don't know, like let go moment for him to like really be excited about it, you know, but also like sad thinking about his wife and the whole moment. And then like right after we took the photo, you could hear the train horn from the background. And we were laughing, we're like, oh, that's your wife letting you know that like you're on the right path, and she's happy, and she's going to be with you on this journey together with him.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with Robert LeBlanc looking at his new pop-up gallery in Los Angeles called 10 Lizards. Today's video is going to be all about the process of taking a project and then getting it down to the photos that you want to give to the world and show and tell that story. And Robert's going to give us some of his process and tips along the way for you as you are going through your things and working on your projects, maybe some things you can pick up from his process to apply to yours.
About 2 years ago, I started this project where I took about 20 trips across the country. And yeah, just started photographing the small little towns I went to, out the window, on the train, and really wanted to paint a world of kind of surrealism.
How many trains do you think you took in the entire project?
Probably at least 20 or 30 trains. So I would kind of like set them up where, all right, I know I'm going to go to this town.
Okay.
And I would do that, and I would kind of scope out the town and find these like
just
weird...
using like Google Maps?
Yeah, well, I had like this big train map, you know? So I was like, all right, what line goes here? What little town's here? And then I would research the towns on the train line. And then actually it was a really interesting project where I had a group of collectors who essentially bought like a digital train ticket, and they actually helped vote it on where I went. So I made them almost like a choose your own adventure. As art collectors, you don't really know the process of making a body of work, right? You end up just seeing it at the very end, and whether it's the gallery exhibition or the book project. So for me, it was like, all right, here's a group of people who enjoy and like my work. Let's take them on that experience. Let's make them feel the pains and the struggles I have to feel, you know, the hiccups on the road. What's it like to, you know, have these high expectations and then strike out in some of these towns, you know? So like Reno was an example. Like I had all these big dreams about Reno, and then Reno was probably the most boring place to end up shooting. I didn't really get anything out of it.
If you're watching from Reno, don't take that personal, okay?
No, it wasn't Reno's fault at all. It was just, that's how life is with photography. Sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't.
So how many photos total did you make on the trains?
Oh man, I don't even know. Thousands.
Thousands?
Yeah.
Like multiple thousands?
Multiple thousands,
okay,
for sure.
So, and you did this whole project on the Q2 Monochrom.
Yep.
So are you like in the train, grabbing a photo, looking at it, or are you just kind of like in the moment? Like what's your process as an artist?
A little bit of just wherever like creativity sparks, you know what I mean? Like when you're in a sleeper car for 12 hours.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you're in this little like confined space. So, you know, you kind of like look around, you're like, what am I going to find? What's going to be beautiful? Like what's going to be
are you like walking up and down through the train?
Yeah.
Seeing what
for sure.
feels right. And then you're getting off in the cities, and then you're walking around the city, waiting for the next train, basically like 24 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you shot several thousands of photos. How many are in the book?
I think altogether there's maybe 90, 100 at the most.
So let's say there's 100 in the book. And then here at the gallery, how many are there?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Which,
14 if you include this wall.
Huge percentage cut.
Yeah.
From the thousands in the body to the 100 in the book to 13 here printed in this gallery. Talk to me about a little bit of that process of going from thousands to 100.
I mean, that's the struggle, right? I mean, you fall in love with every photo. You fall in love with different moments. You fall in love with things that you see, right? But really trying to like refine your selection, right? Like you need to be able to tell a story. You need to be able to create a world that people want to live through, whether it's, you introduce them to it and then you kind of find an exit way out of it, or however you want to build the story. But that's the biggest thing for photographers. They got to learn how to cut stuff down, how to make an edit, how to like really slim down, because things can be repetitive. So you want to make sure that whatever photos are really, really strong, where they live, like those are the ones you want to keep, right? And you got to make sure you don't have repetition. And it's really good to have people who critique your work. I'm always a huge fan of having other eyes on it, people who can see it from you, because you need to detach. You have so many personal stories and experience from creating images that you need someone from the outside that's not attached to these photos to look at it and really help you kind of guide you through it.
So part of that process are the photos that matter most to you. So you went from thousands to the 100 for the book, but the 13 that you've chosen for the gallery here must be the ones that matter most to you.
Yeah, I mean, really when you come down to your edit for your exhibition, is like, what are the strongest images from the whole series? For me, a book is the pinnacle, right? That's the ultimate pinnacle for showing your photography, because you create a world, you create a story arc, you create a flow for the viewers to go through and experience different things, right? Gloryland was a really good example, where the beginning of the book is like you're getting introed into the mountains and the towns. Then you slowly get introduced into the church and what the church does, and the book ends on death, right? So there's kind of this like story arc to that. I've always loved that about book, but with an exhibition is you don't have that ability. Now you have to create a more condensed world, a world can aesthetically tells the story that you've been trying to create, but you need to really pack a punch in and really kind of hit everybody with the strongest images, or the ones that I thought were the best. This is kind of a cool, again, like we're bringing people back into the train, right? We understand like where we're going. We're going to go back to the train and go on to our next leg of the journey. And it was kind of this cool juxtaposition of old America train travel. They have these kind of old clothing. It just feels a little bit like, what you would imagine in the 40s or the 30s or whatever. And then you have this kind of modern touch with like the cell phone tower and the buildings and the train station.
One thing I've always loved about your work specifically is your level of detail, whether it's in your packaging or in this gallery. Tell us about this thing that I'm looking at right here.
This is like the one thing that you always see everywhere, no matter what train station you're at, what yard you're in, no matter what. This kind of rocks that's on the train track is very universal. So this was kind of my opportunity to bring that world, like physical element of the train world, into the gallery for people to kind of see and experience. So yeah, I had to lug 400 pounds of rocks in here and wash all the rocks to make them look good.
So if you got somebody that came to you and said, okay, I have this project I want to do, I don't even know how to get started or where the end result is going to be. Like if you had 1 minute with that person, what would you tell them?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Nike the damn thing.
Just
right?
start it.
Just get it done.
Yeah. You can always wait for the perfect opportunity. You can wait for the perfect moment. You want all these things online, but really it's not how life works. And I realized that just go for it. Don't hesitate it. Just go for it. Figure out your issues, put out your fires as the project goes along. But once you kind of start the ball rolling, it becomes a lot more attainable. It becomes a lot more, I don't know. It doesn't seem such like this huge thing to accomplish. And obviously when you're in the middle of it and you want to take time, a lot of my projects take years. So like they always do feel like very like fast and big, but it's just like building a little brick house. It's just brick by brick, little by little. And then before you know it, years later, now you have a whole body of work you can work with and explore. So don't sweat the big stuff. Just go out and shoot the photos.
So if someone wants to find out more about your work, where do they go? How do they find out more about you?
You can do Instagram. photosbyrobertleblanc.com is a good spot. The website, just search Robert LeBlanc, it'll pop up. And then I always suggest everybody to go to Fahey Klein Gallery. They have a great extensive view of my work. You can always ask them about questions and prints and all that stuff. So, but yeah, those are usually the hot spots.
And I know we've got a lot of viewers from LA on this channel. If you are an LA viewer and you're watching this video within the 30-day window of June
5th will be the opening of the exhibition. That'll run the first weekend, and then we'll reopen it again on the second weekend of June. So you kind of have like 2 windows in June to come see the exhibition. But yeah, please come through. We got a whole capsule collection of clothing from Carhartt Whip that we're gonna drop exclusively for the LA store.
There are relevant links right below in the description. And if you missed something or you wanna just go check it out, it's all right there. You can find out more about Robert, this work, pick up the book, everything at the links right below.